call the meeting to order. Ask you to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tonight's consent agenda consists of the following items. Item A, approve the minutes of the following special closed city council meeting December 19th, 2023. City council work session December 19th, 2023. City council regular meeting December 19th, 2023. Item B, authorize the city administrator to execute a quote from McQueen Emergency for the purchase and installation of Arctic compressor for self-contained breathing apparatus equipment for the amount not to exceed $25,714.87. Item C, adopt resolution R-24-04, appointing election judges for the city of Winston for the 2024 presidential nomination primary election. Item D, approve the pledged securities that Security Bank and Trust Company has purchased for the city of Winston for the month of January 2024. Item E, approve the building permit for the month of January 2024. Item F, approve the financial report for the month of December 2023. And item G, approve the claims list for February 20, 2024. That's the consent agenda. I'm looking for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll motion the consent agenda approved as presented, and I abstain from voting on item D.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. No old business tonight, but under new business, our first item is Hanlon Park redevelopment, and I'll start off with Neil.
Okay, so over parts of the past year, we have, well, first, good evening, Council and Mr. Mayor. But over the past year, I've been looking at doing different items to our parks and looking to see what we can do for as far as upgrades go. The Park Commission has been working hard and has decided to focus their efforts on Hanlon Park and doing a little or major revamp, depending on who you ask. And we have two members here, Mr. Fury and Ms. Fowler. If you would like to come up and present on the park.
Well,
Then-
first I want to thank you all for allowing us to go forward with presenting this presentation tonight. It's been stated, quite a long process, but it's also been very interesting and really quite exciting. You'll see in the next slide is somewhat of the layout of what we've come through in the last several months of working. But as was stated, we've been focusing on one park since all parks would benefit from improvements, but trying to be smart and focus on one park and the fact that they make it sizable and make a difference and hopefully find some funds to be able to pull this off. Hanlon Park has the most available space to work with, quite sizable. It also has been quite some time since there was work done there. It is a central location in the park. There is the potential for it to be connected to Loose Line Trail at some point. And the fact that it is very visible as you drive through town, it also would benefit from a facelift. Side note, two things. One, the playground area, there's some signage there that some board members may know that there is a sign for the playground equipment that the last update was 1995-96. A very long list of people that donated and businesses, and some which are no longer part of the city. Another reason for making this a really good opportunity is the quantity of ash trees in the park, as in over 3 dozen, which will sooner than later be meeting their demise. And so again, offers a really great opportunity to move forward doing something, since this park will not look like this in the near future. The playground, I'm going to retract back to that. In the playground area, presently has a lot of equipment for the youngers, but not offering much in the park for olders. And that was another motivating piece to look at this park, is for updates. And I believe, so that is pretty much how we got here and some of our mindset. And we've got to the first big piece that we have spent a great deal of time on, is adding a pavilion. And Tim here has some dialogue on that.
Well, thank you, Evelyn, and good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. Thanks for the opportunity to present this evening. You can see kind of a glimpse of potentially a new site called the Pavilion. Going back to what Evelyn mentioned earlier, this would be located on the west side of the park, primarily in the center. Very high traffic area you can see from South 6th Street, I believe, or County Road 1. And if you maybe tab up a bit, thank you. That would be what we envision to be the south entrance. And the idea behind this is, why a pavilion? It's a contemporary building. It would be modern, very practical event location for events to both residents and non-residents. I think the occupancy, Neil, you may have to keep me honest here. I think we wanted it to be up to around 250.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's it would facilitate weddings and things like that. It's a very beautiful outdoor space and an excellent opportunity to draw people into the town. We looked at a number of different designs. We essentially settled on this kind of a look with very attractive landscaping. This is the south end of the building. And this would be more of the service entrance to a certain degree, where you'd have trucks coming in for vendors and things like that to support supplies and catering and things like that. And then if you want to go up to the next slide, please. Thank you. This will be a view of the north end. You can notice that we use kind of a garage door concept. The idea being that it's you can roll up the doors on a nice sunny day, enjoy the landscaping and the sun and the breezes and things like that. If it starts to cool off, just simply shut the doors. Now, this concept may change, again, based on the feedback from the City Council and of course, our residents. Perhaps, I think initially we looked at this as being maybe a seasonal building, and I think we've received some feedback that we might entertain or the City Council might look at a building that would be 365, open and available. So there's been some talk about that, so that's something that could change. So some of this may, of course, be modified, but that was the initial concept. If you go to the next slide, please, you can see kind of the layout, where you'd have the round tables in these photos. They kind of give you a visual. That's about approximately the same kind of pitch and ceiling that you would see inside the building that we're proposing. So it seats a good group, or a good sized group. On the north end of the building, we'd also have the option of adding a fireplace as kind of a nice feature for people to socialize, warm themselves. Always nice to have that kind of an opportunity. That's a little bit of a look, and then if you continue to the next slide, you can get a look at what the park might look like. There's the basketball court you see on the left-hand side. We would be proposing to move it from Weinbeck Field to Hanlon, and then you see a nice picnic area where we could have picnic tables and things like that set up. All hard surfaces. I think for the basketball court, we're envisioning a sport court kind of a base as an option, and then a nice walking trail.
Along that, with that would be the pickleball courts.
You can kind of see that they're up here attached to there's two of them running north and south.
So at any rate, and then if you want to move on to the next slide, you can see the intention of the playground equipment. It would be set up for all ages. So you'd have something for maybe 10 and under, as well as teens, maybe more of a high adventure kind of a feel and look. And then the idea would be to take the existing equipment and move it into another park, perhaps Westgate. I think was an idea that people had around potentially repurposing the equipment. And then, of course, we'd look at options, different things for whether it be a mulch or some kind of rubberized floor or landing area. So I'm just going to pause there before we get too much further. Entertain any questions you might have, any thoughts, concerns? Okay, very good. Then how about if we go on to the timeline, proposed timeline? So we would look at, and you can move the slide, please. Thank you. So the first thing would just be getting some public, input and buy-in and things like that, getting full city council approval. We would then propose next spring of 24, just a couple of months away, new pickleball courts and basketball court setup, rerouting the driveway to be a little bit more east within the park, and then updating the volleyball courts. And then by the fall of this year, finalizing all the plans, establishing a start date, and then in spring, we'd go with the new pavilion, the playground, and all the finishing touches, landscaping, things like that, and then a grand opening scheduled for summer, fall of 2025. And there you see an aerial view of what it might look like should everything come together as proposed.
What's in the lower right-hand corner?
Down here. Oh, this is just, these two are different views,
Oh,
so
okay,
different angles of the park,
got it.
different aerials. Yeah, and then just to point out, this would be the trail connection if that were to go through. This down here was that picnic area that you saw on a different slide. Right now, that's kind of up for debate of what would go there, but that is the current pickleball court. And you have two pickleball courts here, basketball, and then the pavilion, a couple volleyball courts, and still one.
You mentioned the trees, so would you propose taking all the trees out and starting from scratch? Or
I
would
think you'd end up, and maybe Evelyn can comment on this as well, but you'd end up taking out a few trees initially to make way for some of the new amenities. But then you have to think about the fact that I think there's maybe 30 to 40 trees that are ash-based, and that we've got the emerald ash borer, thing that's coming at us. And so you might want to plan ahead thinking, hey, should we take them now, or should we take, a select few? That's to be determined, but there'd be some replanting, just knowing that sooner or later those trees are going to most likely have to come down.
I think I probably would have voted for a staggered approach. Take out what you need to complete a project and leave what is not in the way, because it won't make any difference whether they all go at once. I think from the public would probably appreciate having some left, watch them die off.
fair amount of dirt work to be done no matter what phase of the project, right? Would it make more sense to, when construction does start, to do it all at once?
Perhaps.
Perhaps.
Yeah, you might look at it and say, with the amount of excavating to put in the pavilion and basketball courts and things like that, you may spend more time and effort trying to get around versus just doing a complete demo, but that's to be determined. Good point.
Well, it's exciting if we can, find financing for it, but it's something that would truly enhance the community.
I think maybe Neil can speak on this in more accuracy, but we've gotten a lot of feedback from the community just around, when you start talking about parks and systems, you start talking about an anchor park with some attractions and things like that. People just light up. And I can't speak for everybody in town, obviously, but at least a few that we've talked to seem to welcome it. And no doubt we'd need some time to get in front of the public to present it, get their feedback, but we assume that most everybody would be, pretty happy about being a, a real anchor park being developed. And,
Mhm.
there's only so much money we have, then we spread it around to all these different parks. It's really hard to make a difference for people to see it. And if you could concentrate on one park, it doesn't mean we ignore the others. It just
Right.
means, see if you can do something large, make it a big, win, get the public behind it, attract, other community members or outside the community to come over and enjoy the park and make a difference.
Would sponsorship be an aspect of this project, much like the old playground equipment? I mean, would you consider approaching businesses for?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who would facilitate that?
go about
Your-
that?
Yeah, I mean, would you expect the city to do that, or would your commission do it?
I think maybe a modified
I was
approach.
going to say, I think that we'll probably be discussing that at the next park meeting just to see, but yeah, we'll have to see. But if you're willing to throw in some money, we'll take it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, but then do you, and I suppose this is all up for discussion, but would you, I'll adopt this piece or that piece, right? You can pick and choose, probably,
Be an attractive option.
right?
If you could, if a company came in and said, oh, is there a naming opportunity for like the playground area? This is the such and such
Right,
playground area.
right.
Neil, no doubt there's some rules around namings and things like that, but,
There are, but it can happen.
Just,
You could even put on your sport court, you could have your logo right in the middle or big picture of you right there. And
Right, right.
Just for council's information, a lot of these things were discussed, but not really developed because there was no sense to start developing things until they got the council okay to go ahead. And I think there's a lot of work that lies ahead of the park commission as far as getting all kinds of answers and looking at other places, how much they charge for their rentals, what's their rules. All those types of things have to come into play. So
Right.
their plates are going to be full for a couple months here.
And that's really why they're here tonight, is to present the work that they have done and then just get your blessing to move forward and see, dig a little bit deeper into it, get a little bit more defined on the costs and the plan.
Definitely. And city staff will help, right?
Yes.
Anybody on the council object to moving forward with the project?
Not at all. It's great.
Nope.
and I think obviously there'll be things like financing, grants, individual company sponsorship, and then I think we end up making more pitches in the future just to say, okay, here's what we understand, and there's a lot of review and buy-in and approvals to be had.
Well, I want to thank the park board for putting this together and presenting it, because I think would definitely be an asset.
Time to move forward.
Perfect.
Right,
Thank you very much.
wonderful, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Next item is the Winston Municipal Airport 10D snow removal equipment, SRE acquisition. Neil, you want to start us off?
Yes, so as the council is aware, last year we were unable to secure our snow removal equipment due to some regulations with the FAA, and looking to today to get the council to approve the project for bidding. And I see Mr. Eckstein here from Bolton and Mink. We'll touch base on this a little bit.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. As Neil mentioned, we did go through this a little bit last year, hit a snag with some items that we couldn't fulfill. From a Buy American standpoint, we are a little more confident this time around that we'll be able to clear that hurdle. So we have prepared specifications to go out for procurement of a wheel loader with a wing plow and a snow blower. The base bid will come back with the wheel loader and the wing plow, and the snow blower will be an add alternate. So there'll be some option to look at pricing when we get that back and decide how to move forward from there. As Neil mentioned, if we do get authorization tonight to move forward with the advertisement, we are just getting those numbers in place, and there'll be another meeting, another discussion before finally moving forward with the project. And then after the award, we will need to go through that process with the FAA and with John Deere or whoever is the low quote, with clearing that by American Hurdle once again. So we'll work through that more this summer. So we're looking at opening bids on March 15th, bring back to council on March 19th to review the bids, and then working through the summer with the FAA and the grant. That's kind of the timeline. This is a 95 split, again, as most things are at the airport. So 90% FAA, 5% state, and 5% local match.
Any questions? Anybody have any questions for Josh?
No.
How many bids do you expect to get?
Probably 3 in that neighborhood.
If there's no further questions, looking for somebody to make a motion.
And make a motion to approve plans and specifications and authorize Bolton and Mink Incorporated to advertise for bids for the snow removal equipment acquisition project at the Winston Municipal Airport.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next item, Winston Municipal Airport mower acquisition. Neil?
So over the number of years, we have had a mower acquisition on our airport CIP. And due to the state not funding any equipment for that number of years, we haven't been able to acquire that purchase. They did open it up, and we scored as high as you possibly can for the grant, which is a 75%, 25% grant. And city staff has recommended to pursue a 12-foot mower with that. I'm not sure if Mr. Eckstein has anything to add on that, but I will turn it over to him.
Thanks, Neil. I think you hit most of them. As Neil mentioned, this has been on our CIP for quite a while. It just keeps getting moved down back in years because there wasn't a grant opportunity out there. This year, they did open that up through MnDOT state grant equipment. And we looked at it. We thought we would submit equipment for that and did score high. So we feel pretty confident moving forward.
Our portion.
If this is approved tonight, you go out to bids, and we would possibly take possession when?
Well, we did get a quote from RecTech
Okay.
Solutions out of Plato. And so that would be what's on in front of you tonight would be
I
the
see that, yeah.
authorization to acquire that piece of equipment.
So it's readily available?
It's available. Yep.
Okay.
Any other questions? If not, looking for a motion.
I'll motion to authorize the city administrator to execute a quote from RecTech Sales and Service for the purchase of a 144-inch Yammer diesel mower for an amount not to exceed $66,399, contingent upon the execution of a grant agreement with the Minnesota Department of Transportation, Office of Aeronautics.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thanks, Josh. You'll be back shortly, I'm sure. Next item is recommended 2024 City Council priorities. Neil, you're going to take us through that?
Sure. On January 23rd, we conducted our annual goal-setting retreat, deciding what are going to be the priorities for the next year. So generally, the priorities for our council that we're going to talk about today are going to be accomplishable within 1 year, consistent with the adopted positions of the council, either resolutions or ordinances that we've had, and under the direct control or sphere or influence of the council or staff. So looking forward, we came up with 15. Some of these goals are things that are very timely for this year that have to happen within this year. So things like well installation. And we've talked about that here, but that will be done hopefully by the end of this year. The downtown street lighting repairs, we've already started, hopefully accomplishing the completion of that by early summer, late spring. We have personnel policy updates, things that had to be done that were required by the state, so we're going to look at making those. Loose line trail connection, just seeing if we can move the DNR, I guess, to think of how we can connect the loose line without having to go on our roads. And the equipment replacement, we just took that step today to get the snow removal equipment. We have to come up with a cannabis business policy that Justin and I will be working on and figuring out how we want to handle. So presenting you guys with some recommendations there. How we want to handle if somebody were to open a cannabis business in town. We're looking at doing some airport hangar inspections. Looking at doing a compensation study. Our current study ended this year for 2024. So what that entails is we ask an independent company to consult and see what other cities are paying and see where we're at, and then taking the steps to make sure that we have a plan for 2025 to 2027 for compensation for all of our city employees. Looking at what we can implement as part of a sidewalk improvement plan, seeing how the best way to go about improving our sidewalks, seeing how we can make that fit within our budget. Coming up with an infrastructure maintenance and management plan. We've begun some work on that, but basically ensuring that all of our machinery is taken care of and trying to get the most long-lasting life out of all of those pieces. An orderly annexation plan, developing a plan for the city to move forward in agreement with the township, and just preparing for our future growth and making sure that it is done orderly in an orderly fashion and everybody's on the same page as much as possible. Looking for some water system infrastructure improvements, and where that is really coming in is seeing if we should be replacing some of our older fire hydrants and gate valves, and starting to at least explore the option. Our current lawn mowing contract is up after this year, and we have been told that will not be, our person will be retiring. Looking at whether or not we should do that in-house and seeing what our options are there for our lawn and facility maintenance. Researching possibilities and reaching 24-hour police coverage. Again, thinking of different ways that maybe that'll be possible for us. And then the Hanlon Park improvements, which we've talked about.
Any questions from the council or Neil on the goals? If not, we're just looking for a motion to approve those.
Make a motion to consider adopting the recommended 2024 city council priorities for the city of Winston as presented.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
A motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We've come to the department report tonight. It's city engineer. Josh, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Did prepare a list of items that we've been working on here lately. I'll run through them. So we'll start with the airport items. We just kind of talked about the snow removal equipment. So we've been working on procuring a loader with a plow and a snow blower to help with snow and maintenance, snow removal at the airport. Then the lawnmower, we talked about that a little bit earlier as well. That's in process of procuring a lawnmower for that area as well. Turf runway restoration, we've been kind of working on that since our runway project, trying to get the grass to grow out there. We did do some reseeding this fall, and hoping with some watering and some fertilizer, we'll have some good luck with that coming this spring. Moving on to the County Road 5 extension, as you all know, the city's leading that project. This construction started in September. We did make it through the goals that I had in mind for the construction, even though it took a little bit longer than I was hoping, but we did get the site mass graded, essentially to the grading tolerances that we had laid out for the project. We did get the sand subgrade and the aggregate base down on the roadway itself. And then backing up, the utility infrastructure was also all installed. So the sewer, water, storm sewer was all installed, and that's functioning right now and ready to go. So as soon as spring weather allows, the contractor will be back out there finishing the turn lane that's going to be installed off of County Road 9. There'll be a right turn lane. And then the final grading, tolerancing of the topsoil, and then pavement, curb and gutter, and the concrete pavement will go down on the road. It is going to be staged so that the east 90% of the road, I guess, gets done first, and then the last one block on the west end by the two businesses gets done as a separate portion of the work, to allow at least one access open at all times to the two businesses that are right off of the roadway there. So we are thinking through that, and I did just recently reach out to both of those businesses, had a conversation about what that access is going to look like, and I think it's a good way forward there with each of those.
Question for you.
Yep.
You said there's going to be a turn lane. Is there going to be a bypass lane also?
Yes, yeah, correct.
Okay.
Yep, so northbound bypass lane, southbound right turn lane.
Okay.
Good catch. And then I guess also the new entrance into the wastewater treatment facility will be constructed too later this summer. So, and that'll be access to the brush site as well. So all those last kind of touches go in this summer, and I'm anticipating a September opening for the roadway. September, late, maybe early October. So that's kind of the timeline that I'm looking at.
Is the brush site going to be where it was temporarily moved to?
That's what we're currently looking at. It seemed like staff thought it worked pretty well in that location, so we're gonna kind of do it as a trial or temporary situation, and if it continues to work as well as it did last year, we think that'll be a good site for it. All right, move on to the County Road 1 overlay project. So that's going to be a county-led project in 2025. The county's going to be doing an overlay project from south of Lester Prairie all the way through to Howard Lake. A portion of it in the rural areas is going to be a concrete overlay. And then the segments that are within all of the communities, Howard Lake, Winsted, Lester Prairie, will be asphalt pavement, similar to what we currently have right now. Our portion of the work is going to be looking at utilities, so we're going to see what do we have to replace gate valves, do we have to replace hydrants, what sort of utilities do we need to do in conjunction with that plan. So we're working on getting that included with the project, and then along with that is a potential trail extension or a new trail segment. The DNR has indicated that they have a pretty significant interest in putting in a trail on the east side of County Road 1 from where the current crossing is to Baker Avenue. So that 1.5 blocks, I guess you would call it, would be installed by the DNR. And then we're looking at potentially doing a city project to extend it from Baker Avenue to McLeod Avenue. And that would get us up to Hanlon Park and a good connection there to existing facilities. So that section from Baker to McLeod would be a city effort, and we would look at potentially going after some grant funds for that as well. And And again, I mentioned that's a 2025 project, county-led, and we'll just be providing information to them for the city portions.
Is it an easement that we would need to put that trail, or do we have that already, or?
We feel that we have enough right-of-way
Okay.
south of McLeod. So north of McLeod, we would need easements when and if that happens. But for this first section, we have the right-of-way that's needed.
Okay.
Mhm. All right, move on to well number 5. So we've had those 2 issues that we've been kind of planning for quite a while now with our firm capacity and our failing well. And both of those will be solved with the installation of well number 5, providing, additional water for future growth. Well, we have completed a water study. Council elected to move forward with the Mount Simon well. So that work is moving forward. We have requested financing through the Minnesota Public Facilities Authority, PFA. Some of those documents have already been submitted. A number of them are in process of being submitted currently. So we're working on final plans and specifications for that. That's the last submittal to PFA to get that low interest loan essentially locked in for that project. Topos topographic survey has been completed. So we're in the process of analyzing that, making sure that we're siting the well in the correct location so we're not impacting other facilities around it, and we're minimizing impact to potential future growth within the park there. So, and ultimately the timing of that one is that we would drill and construct the well late in 24. So that's the plan on that one. The Winstead Lake Water Quality Project, that was the improvements to the wetland on the north side of or near the Pheasant Run Pond, north of Shady Creek Drive. Those improvements have been completed. That project closed out. That project was kind of a joint effort between the city and the county watershed management organization, and the county did foot most of the bill for that one, or all of it essentially. The watershed management organization paid for a portion of it, and then county ARPA funds paid for the other portion of it. So that was a good cooperation between the city and the county, in that the city led the effort and the county paid the bill essentially. So lead surface lines. So this is one that is a mandate from environment, the EPA, saying, and administered through the Minnesota Department of Health, stating that each city has to evaluate all of their water service lines within their community and decide what material they're classified as. And we're putting this list and tabulation together, and it needs to be submitted by the end of the summer to Minnesota Department of Health. We are working with them on acquiring a $75,000 grant that would pay for our time, or Bolton Mink's time, to put this this tabulation together. And it's been a little bit frustrating. They came out with this, has been like a year and a half now that we've known about the requirement to submit this at the end of the summer, and they still haven't gotten us the paperwork to finalize this grant. And we can't work forward, or we can't work ahead on it. They won't reimburse any work that's done prior to the grant agreement being in place. So it's kind of like a hurry up and wait. We're working really hard to try to get Department of Health to get us that grant agreement. And as soon as they do, then we'll start working on that list. I really feel we can get it done yet with the time that we have. I did speak with Chris, and he's got a few things that he's been digging into and doing a little bit of research on his end, so that once we get this agreement in place, we can hit the ground running, get that information into the spreadsheet, and then just have a few loose ends to tie up after that. So, and then the miscellaneous items. So we're always ongoing, updating our GIS web-based mapping. I think it's been a pretty good system for the guys out in the field, being able to pull up on their phone, on their tablet, utilities as they're out there working on things. The mill and overlay project, Pheasant Run, Winston on the Lake neighborhoods, that project is completed. We punched that one out. We cleaned that one up. Drainage issues, we did complete a construction or reconstruction of a number of different catch basins throughout the city this summer. Take care of a few outstanding issues where some of these structures just needed repair. So we spot repaired the ones that were kind of in the worst condition. The Herald Journal Utility Services project was completed. That was an extension of sanitary sewer and water, the west down Main Avenue from County Road 1, and then services up to the Journal property. So that one is complete and closed out. Crest Lake Farm Development, final plans have been reviewed and have been provided by the developer. I just actually did receive updated plans from them. There was a few comments that I had that were outstanding that they were taking a little bit of time to address, but I did get those earlier this week and it looks good. So I'll probably get back to you, Neil, on I'm good to go with them moving forward. Be good. Once they're anticipated to start construction in this spring, we will provide inspection services for the municipal work. So they'll be constructing the street, the sewer, and the water within the future road right-of-way. Once that's been inspected and accepted, then they turn it over and it becomes public facilities at that point. And I believe they're looking at occupancy in 25, but I'm wrong. St. John's Lutheran Church, final plans have been reviewed for that expansion or new construction. All of my comments have been satisfied. They've been through planning commission process and everything looks to be approved from that project. And again, I believe they're planning to get started as soon as possible, and then whenever they're going to be working on city infrastructure, we'll be there to do our inspection of that. Property annexations, just a little blurb there. We've been working on a couple of various properties and annexations within town, working with Neil on getting legal descriptions and documents provided for that. Telecom services, there seems to always be an upgrade needed, mostly at the water tower, and we're currently working with T-Mobile on a plan that they have go in and upgrade some equipment and change some things out. So we're kind of always working back and forth with them just to make sure that they're not doing something within that facility that's going to cause corrosion or something that would degrade the tower itself. So that's a lot of what we're reviewing on that end. And then the local road improvement program grant that we submitted, I think it was in November, for Zion Avenue. Zion Avenue is part of the next group of streets that we have slated, and it's part of our pavement management plan to be reconstructed. And right now it's kind of that next group is tentatively scheduled for 2027. The LRIP program came out this fall. There was quite a bit of money in it. We said, well, what of the streets that we have planned would maybe fit the best within that grant opportunity? We thought Zion Avenue did, so we pulled that one out and submitted it to see if we can get grant dollars for that. And if we do, then we'll be back talking about adjusting the schedule for that section of roadway. Otherwise, it will just revert back to our current plan. So I think that wraps it up for my item. Any other questions?
Good luck.
Thanks, Josh.
So before you leave, Josh, just real quick, I think I just wanted to give Josh and Jake a little shout out here of how important they really are to the city. Obviously, you look and going through all of these, even though we do pay them to do this, but yeah. But they're very easy to work with, and obviously you see the length of projects and they've been on the ball. So I just wanted to give you a little shout out and thanks. You don't have to tell Jake, but
Okay,
thanks.
I'll just take that. It's good it comes.
Yeah.
Thanks, John. Tonight's open forum. Anybody has anything they want to talk to the council about, step up, name and address. Have at it. Okay, we'll move on to city administrator update and announcements. Neil?
Yeah, I don't really have a ton, but since Josh mentioned St. John's Church, I know they had started doing some dirt work. Found out it's a little wet, so they're going to wait again. Now, the mayor and I attended a Lake Association meeting along with Bob Bean from Bolton and Mink and Bolton Drager from the Watershed Association, and that was a very good and informative meeting, and just discussing different ways that we can improve the lake, which I know is important. It's on one of our goals here. So they're looking to move forward probably with a little bit more of a defined plan, and we may have to see what our role becomes in that. And earlier in the month, the Winston Area Chamber of Commerce had their annual banquet, and at that banquet, Councilmember Oleg was awarded for his volunteerism to the community. Well, thank you, Tom.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Tommy, have anything to say?
No, it really isn't. Not regarding the award, no. It was very nice. And you don't do things to get awards. You just do them because it's the right thing.
Anything else from anybody on the council? Okay, Tom.
I was just going to mention this week we witnessed in Burnsville how quickly a situation can escalate. And I think sometimes we take for granted our police department and all the things that they have to approach each day. And so I just wanted to publicly thank you for all you do and how you do it. Yep. And I think the other thing is the council, in the past, we've always been very supportive of the police department and given them what they need to perform their duties, and I hope the councils in the future continue to do that.
Thanks, Tom.
Yep.
If there's nothing else, somebody want to make a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
A motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.